You have to mute yourself, Tracy.
Tracy, I just muted everybody one more time because there were a few people unmuted. So unmute again. There you go. Thanks, babe.
All right. I'm so not tech savvy. I was having a panic attack about 10 minutes ago because all of a sudden all my notifications on Facebook were dinging and making noises. I'm like, oh my goodness, they're all going to hear this. So I didn't know what to do. So I called 911 and got that fixed. So hopefully we have no bells and whistles going off while we're trying to do this. So I was really honored, honestly, to be a part of this. This is one of my favorite things to do is talk about leadership and posture because, you know, Isagenix provides us with the best tools on the planet. In fact, they provide us with so many tools. And I think what is happening a lot because we have so many tools, I think so many of you guys are using all of them all at once and overwhelming your people with all of them all at once, and then nobody does anything because they're overwhelmed. I know for myself, there are times where I have so much crap going on up here that I literally am doing the pivot in my kitchen because I'm circling because I can't think straight. So we're going to get back to basics. And when Cara Lee and Margaret both talked about going back to basics, that's really something I've been focusing on myself personally within my organization and with many, many on this call. Because I think that the basics are overlooked, especially as we step into leadership. And we're going to go over some of those things. So I got a lot of good stuff to say. I'm fired up. I don't have many props because most of my props are in boxes. But I will bring out a few of them that I think will help you. But I wanted to start with the basics. You know, I'm sure for those that I see on the screen, how many of you guys started Isagenix for the products? How many of you in the beginning wanted nothing to do with the business? Okay, so most of you. And here's the thing, 85% of the people that you share Isagenix with, no matter how much they love the products, will never share it with anybody. Not a soul, not a person, not one person. 85%. Yet so many times we try to force that 85% into sharing when they just don't want to. And that's part of the problem. And we'll address that situation at the end of this. I'll circle back to that. But I want you to kind of keep that number in mind. So when you're adding people to your team, and you have 5 and you're like, yes, I'm going to have 5 consultants next week. You're lucky if you get one out of those 5. And even then they may fall off because the other 15% that actually share it, only 13% or 13% maybe share it with 2 or 3, but only 2% take it to where you guys are taking it. So I'm sure that opens up your mind a little bit. Does that? Yes? Shake your heads, yes? I'm seeing who's paying attention and who's multitasking. Okay. But one of the things that happens is you get somebody that's really fired up verbally about the Isagenix opportunity. They'll look at me. I have people that are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be the next Isagenix millionaire. I'm going to totally max out the pools. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I'm like, great, this is what you need to do. And then all of a sudden they're like, whoa, I don't want to do that. Like, well, in order to have those things, it takes action. And, you know, when people get my energy around them, they immediately, and this is just the truth, they want to work next to me because I'm fired up 99% of the time with whatever I'm doing. I'm passionate about life, everything, whether it's with my kids, I'm out in public, you know, pumping gas. I'm passionate about being alive. And so many people want to work with me. However, I want to work with people that walk the walk that they talk. And you're going to get a lot of people within your organization come along. They're going to be fired up because they're, you know, drinking the Kool-Aid. They had 2 people notice what they're doing, and all of a sudden, they're going to be the next Isagenix millionaires, which is totally okay to say that because I said it. But then I actually got into action and did the things that it takes to do that. And so many times I see leaders trying to work with those people that talk a good game, but then they don't back it up. And that just ain't how I roll. I want to see people moving and putting their money where their mouth is. And this is where it gets difficult because in our Isagenix journey, we share with people we love, yes? Those are usually some of the people that we share it with first. And some of those people that we love talk a really good game and they don't follow through. And I'm not saying all of them. And so sometimes these conversations get really challenging. And we're afraid to have these conversations, or we are afraid to, maybe let somebody go, love them, still love them with everything you've got. But when it comes time to, linking arms and doing the deal, you're going to have to link arms with those that are actually walking the walk that they talk. And I've had to have some hard conversations with some of my very, very best friends about this exact subject. And it's hard. It's hard. But they're going to take this a lot more seriously. Yes, they're mad at me sometimes. Yes, they probably want to punch me in the face sometimes. But I'm not doing them any favors by enabling them, by telling them they're going to do it when I know they're not, because they're not doing the action steps that it takes. I love them. They know I love them. And sometimes I say, listen, you need to work on you a little bit more before you're ready to tackle this, And that's just being honest. And because I love you, I'm going to tell you that. And those are hard conversations to have with people you love. And it's not that I know better or that I'm the shit, because I'm not, but I've actually done the work. And I've done a lot of the work before I even got to Isagenix on myself. And that's the difference. That is the difference. 6 months before Isagenix rolled into my life, I was working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on me. That was my full-time job to stay alive. And when Isagenix rolled into my life, I was equipped with the tools to be able to handle those hard conversations. And not everybody is when they start. But the great news is we earn as we learn. And if you want your organization to grow, and if you want people to take you seriously, then you're going to have to be willing to have those hard conversations. Can we agree to do that? Good. So matching energy for energy. A lot of people don't know what that looks like. So when I get somebody that says, oh my gosh, I want to be an Isagenix millionaire, I want to go all the way, I'm one of those 2%. I'm like, great. This is what we're going to do. We're going to fill this out. You guys familiar with that? The Map to Crystal Executive? This was the only tool I used in the very beginning. And I printed out about 10 of these. And the most important part of this little thing is right here, where it says goal, achieved by. So many of you guys fill these out and you leave that part blank because a few things. You're afraid, oh my goodness, what if I don't hit it? Then I suck at life. Oh my God, what will everybody think of me? Oh my goodness. We start playing the crazy crap in our head. I put a date on there. And I'd never done that before. Before I came to Isagenix, I never put goals out into the universe because of those exact reasons I said. I didn't want to suck. I didn't want to be held accountable. I didn't want anybody knowing that I didn't follow through with what I said I was going to do, right? So put that goal on paper and then tape them everywhere there's a distraction. Every time you think this is too hard, every time, like if your why is your family and bringing your husband home, then I want you to tape this to the refrigerator with a picture of your husband next to it. So every time that you think a conversation is going to be too hard, you have to look your husband in the face. Do the things that are going to hold yourself accountable. And, I put a date on there and I missed it by 6 days. Did that mean I sucked? No. But you can't hit a target. You can't hit a target unless you see where you're aiming. You know what I mean? If you just say, well, I'm going to try, don't ever use the word try with me, ever, because that's just setting yourself up to make an excuse for something. And I will knock you in the head. Right? Those of you that know me, just go for it. Just go for it and be fearless. Be fearless, because when you have it right here and people try to knock you back up on your heels, you're going to be able to stand firm and strong and not take any crap. This is about you. And this is about you helping people. And if you backpedal, think about the thousands of lives that wouldn't be affected if I caved. 23,000 or so people may not be here had I just backed up on my heels because I was afraid of putting a goal out there for the world to see. So that's the first thing. The second thing, if they say they want this really bad, I said, great. What event ticket are you buying to the core for? Right now. Right now. And of course, you're going to know who's ready to do this and do whatever it takes because they will get to an event. Trisha was started on December 17th. She was at New Year kickoff 3 weeks later. Do you think she was somebody that wanted it? Yes. I looked at Danny. I said, can you watch the boys? He said, yes. And we got her to Texas. That was somebody I was willing to work with. Jen Newman here in the center of the screen, same thing. I said, can Jim watch Lila? Yeah, great. She was at Celebration a month later. Those are the people you work with, not the ones that say, well, I don't know if I can get there, or, you know what, I had to make sacrifices. I had to sleep on floors. I had to room with people I didn't know. I had to not eat some stuff that I really wanted to eat for a while to save the money to get to events. You make sacrifices, but those that get to events, those are the people you work with. And if they're not willing to get to a core 4 in their first 3 months, they're not going to get my one-on-one time. That's matching energy for energy. You feeling me? Yeah? Okay. Consistent action and laser focus. The glory about what we get to do, we are blessed to do this every day, even if you have a full-time family, a full-time job. No matter what, you can do this from anywhere, every day. And that's what a lot of people forget. I made a commitment from that very first day at ICU sitting next to Betsy Frame. I will never, this moment changed everything for me. I just got done. She saw me with the mascara and the hot mess that I was. And she was sitting right next to me, watching me scribble mad notes when Susan Sly was up there. And my whole posture changed as Susan spoke. And I looked at Betsy and I said, I'm going to be an Isagenix millionaire before my son goes to college. And that was 3 years out. And she looked at me and she goes, oh, I have no doubt. And I said, 2 years. 2 years. I looked her dead in the eyes. I said, 2 years. I'm going to do this every single day for 2 years, no matter what. No matter what people say, no matter what crap comes my way, no matter how haters hate. 2 years every single day. But the good news is I can do it from anywhere. I can do it from my kids' baseball games, from my daughter's dance recitals, from the mountains, from the beaches. But I can touch this every single day. And a lot of you aren't doing that. As long as you have one of these, a smartphone and Wi-Fi, you can touch your business every single day. Because here's the facts. Your people are going to do what you do, not what you say to do. Write that nugget down, because that's key. The reason I had the success I did as fast as I did is because I walked the walk that I talked. I set the expectation and the bar very, very high. Did I expect everybody to do what I did? Absolutely not, because this is their journey. However, speed of the leader is the speed of the pack, and they will do what you do, not what you say to do. So if you're the one barking at the sidelines like a coach, but you're, sitting in your little lounge chair like this, expecting them to, win the Super Bowl, good luck with that. Ain't gonna happen. I stay in the trenches every single day with our team. I'm doing the unsexy stuff. I'm doing the cleanses with them. I'm doing the challenges with them. I'm doing 30-second stories with them. Just because I'm an Isagenix millionaire and I'm pretty good at this doesn't mean I don't work on my basic skills every single day. And we're going to touch on those basic skills because there's so much. And because when we step into leadership, all of a sudden we think our role needs to change. We start doing things like crazy webinars and all this stuff, which is great. I'm not knocking it. But if you're not doing the basics with your team, all these webinars are pointless. I'm telling you that right now. Don't waste your time doing all this extra stuff when they can't even master the basics first. If you get nothing else as leaders out of this, please get that. Because I traveled so much in 2015, I didn't have as much time to work on the basics with my team, and I could feel something wasn't right. And when I put the brakes on and invested several hours with one-on-ones with several of my team, I noticed the basics were missing again. Even people that had been around a year or two, we got out of practice of them. And so what we decided to do was go back to basics. And what has happened? People are reactivated in their downline. People have a new fire in their belly. They feel empowered. Their posture is changing. They're attracting better people because they are better people. And you're going to attract whatever you are. For a long time, I attracted a bunch of assholes in my life because I was one. I'm just being honest, just being really honest. Before Isagenix, I was the biggest one there was, and that's all I had in my life. So it was no surprise when I came to Isagenix and I started cleaning up my act and stopped hiding behind the masks, that people exited my life because I wasn't that anymore. And the right people started to show up. So if you've got a bunch of pains in the butts in your life, I strongly suggest you look in the mirror because it's a true reflection of who you are. And I know that sounds harsh. And I know that sounds not like what you want to hear. And if you have a lot of needy people, Take a look in the mirror. You're either enabling them or you're a needy person. And that's something that I had to own. I mean, I had to own that. So if somebody's irritating me, that's a direct reflection of how I'm feeling about myself. So I don't get irritated by people anymore. I was like, oh, I got to work on me. Okay, so take that lesson with you. That's a really, really good one. So maybe you're asking what the basics are, right? What are the basics that I'm working on my team with? This is huge. If you've been to University in Action, 2.5 full days are worked on this. And we forget. That 30-second story is the key. That is the key to people sharing the story of Isagenix. But so many people are so liquored up on excitement about Isagenix that all of a sudden they verbally vomit everything, and people are like, whoa, I don't care if I need this Isagenix, I want nothing to do with you or it. So teaching people how to share their story is so important. How to share a weight loss story, how to share an energy story, how to share a performance story, how to share an aging story, how to share a wealth creation story, but more importantly, how to share somebody else's story. Because they may not have all those stories, and they may come in contact with somebody who needs to hear a healthy aging story, but they're a START member. They'll use my story, or you know what I mean? But teaching people how to use their story where it doesn't scare people off and they're like, oh my gosh, it's one of those weird network marketing people. We have a template for it. If you Google 30-second story Isagenix template, boom, pops right up. You don't even have to dig too far. It's so super simple. And then you don't just say, here it is, good luck. You make them practice it. You make them call people. You make them text people. You make them, talk to a stranger. If they're not willing to do that, the chances of them taking this business and be a top 2%er are probably next to nothing. And that doesn't mean they're bad people. And that doesn't mean you don't love them, because you do. You're just not ready. And that's totally okay, because this isn't about you. It's about them. Does that make sense? But working on that 30-second story and knowing, how do you, teaching them, because so many people, oh my God, I got to totally talk about Isagenix right now. And like Carolee said earlier, her conversations changed because she became a better listener. She wasn't trying to be like, okay, I'm going to get them in Isagenix. She actually genuinely wanted to be a good listener and figure out how, if at all, she could be of service to this person. And that's the part that's missing for a lot of us. We so are trying to calculate how we're going to get Isagenix into this conversation that we are so not even listening to what people are telling us. And the chances of it happening in our first conversation with those people are probably next to zero. But if you build a relationship, the trust gets built, the credibility gets built, the relatability gets built. And eventually, I guarantee you, if you spend enough time investing in people and caring about them and being interested in them and not about what you get out of it, it will come up and you will know what part of your 30-second story to tell. But are you teaching your people how to do this? I'm guessing probably not. This is what we've been focusing on in our team for the last week. Just the 30-second story, not learning the compensation plan inside out. Because if you can't even share, how are you ever going to get to that? Getting people comfortable, building their confidence. And I'm telling you, once you get them practicing this, their confidence changes. Their shoulders pop back. Their smile gets big. You see the stress go away on their face. I mean, looking at Carolee right now, she looks like a different person than she did about a month ago, right? She is. She is. She got back to basics and her confidence went up. And she's talking to a whole different class of people right now because of that. Okay, the second basic, I have basically 5 basics, okay? So if you're taking notes and you like neat notes and you like to have bullet points, we just did bullet point number 1. I'm one of those that erases things and has colors and all that, so I understand for nice note-taking. The second one is honestly the only thing on my list that's not an Isagenix tool. This is one that I came up with kind of randomly. It was an accident. But I needed to have a conversation, a duplicatable conversation with people when I was first getting them enrolled that kind of sort of dropped the seed about sharing and kind of sort of, not kind of sort of, set expectations. David Worry says one of the most underutilized tools is setting expectations. And this next tool I'm about to give you is setting an expectation for how their health journey is going to go. If you guys don't know, oh, can you hear me still? Are you good? Okay. how their health journey is going to go, what their first 14 days on Isagenix looks like. And for those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, if you go to YouTube, I've done a video, over 20,000 people have watched it. It might mean that it's working for people. Every event I've gone to this year, dozens of people come up to me and like, oh my God, that 14-day talk, it's changed everything for me. Everything. You know, you basically walk them through their first 2 weeks of Isagenix, and you're setting the expectations. Like, listen, I want to applaud you for trusting me. Thank you for trusting me with your health journey. I want you to know I'm in this with you for the rest of your life. That might scare you, but I just want you to know I am. You're setting that expectation that you're not just turning and burning them, and good luck with that box and see you later. So they already know. But what I do tell you is, like, but this is the thing. I want you to just focus on 2 weeks. That's it. I don't want you to focus on 30 days, 2 months out, nothing else. We're going to just focus on 14 days. Because if you were like me, when I got to Isagenix, I was in such a mental fog, I could barely think about tomorrow, let alone next month. So giving people a 2-week window, most people can wrap their brain around that, and they're like, oh, okay. And I said, a few things are going to happen because all I care about is your success. Honestly, you just invested $559 in a President's Pack. I want to make sure you have the highest success rate in the company. Would that be okay with you? They're like, yes, of course. Great. You're going to contact me once a day for 14 days, no matter whatever way you're comfortable. If it's a text message, if it's a phone call, if it's an email, if it's a private message, I don't care. Whatever way you're most comfortable. And this isn't because I want to micromanage you. Not at all. Because I want you to have success. And I'm going to tell you something. If you don't text me or call me that day, does that mean I'm going to hunt you down? Absolutely not. This is your journey, not mine. But I'm letting you know I'm 100% available to you every day for 14 days. And if you want to be successful, my experience has been people that stay accountable and check in at least for 14 days have great success. So basically, you're putting the responsibility on them. I don't hunt anybody down. But the ones that do, they have great success. And the other thing I ask them to do is to post in our Facebook health group, our wellness group. What this does is it gets over this fear of talking about Isagenix and their journey. They know it's a private Facebook group, so it's safe. None of their friends are going to know about it till they're ready. And what happens is they get very comfortable. They're part of a community. All of a sudden, hundreds of strangers are loving on them, and they're like, who are these people? Do they really love me? What? Like, are they getting a kickback from me? No. They're just being part of something special. And let's be real, most people are missing that in their own homes. So when they're part of something pretty special like that in their first 2 weeks of their journey, and they're already posting about it, it's really, really important. So those are the expectations I set. Whether or not they do that, totally on you. But I want you to know I'm committed to this 100%, and I would assume you are since you just put $559 on the line. You know, so I'm kind of holding them accountable. And they're like, okay, yeah. And some are ready, some are not. Most do it, some don't. So then, you know, in that 14-day talk, we moved to, like, once they have the breakthrough, the first few days suck. Let's be real. We all feel like crap. And I let them know that's going to happen. So many people are afraid to say that. But what happens when they have that moment is like, okay, Tracy said this was going to happen. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. And I tell them by day 7, you're going to be picking up the phone and call me and tell me you're in love with me because you've never felt so good in your life. And they think I'm crazy or high on something when I say that to them. But then day 7 comes, and after they've swore at me through those first few days and they felt so yucky, they actually pick up the phone like, oh my gosh, I thought you were a lunatic, but you are actually right. I feel amazing. And so credibility again, trust. It's all very strategic, but very authentic. It's building credibility and trust. So they're believing what I'm telling them. And I've honored my commitment to them. I'm right there with them by their side, not going anywhere. And the important part of this conversation, I tell them, is by day 14, without even trying, people are going to start noticing something is going on with you. And that's not selling Isagenix. That's not doing the business. I never even mention those words. Please do not mention those words, because they were mentioned to me and I was like, get away from me. Give me my box, shut up, and go away. I seriously was so bitter. But when I tell people by day 14, without even trying, people are going to start noticing that something's different about you. Your spouse might say, this is the person I married. Your kids may not scatter when you walk in a room anymore. And your girlfriend might be a little jealous because your butt's looking really good in your jeans. And, you know, those are all things that people can relate to. And, you know, the thing about the spouse and the kids, like they're probably internalizing those insecurities, but I kind of just put it out on the table. So like, okay, do you hear what I'm saying? It's not just about getting our butt skinny, even though that's really nice. And so that kind of plants a seed that you're going to end up sharing this, and it's going to be totally natural because you're preparing them for that. So when day 14 happens and somebody they love says, what the heck's going on with you? Because I wasn't telling anybody. I didn't tell a soul. They started saying without even trying. People started saying stuff to me. And so when that actually happens to them, they're like, okay, she was right. And they don't get the deer in the headlights look when somebody asks them what the heck they're doing. Instead, they say, oh my gosh, you got to be part of this amazing Facebook group I'm in. I have no idea what the heck's in this stuff. I don't even know if it's legal, but oh my goodness, it's amazing. Here, come meet my 23,000 new friends. And all of a sudden, they're sharing Isogenics without even trying. Okay, so you can find my video on YouTube. Don't send that to people. Your job is to use that as a tool to learn it and practice it. Again, our team is now in this second week, we're practicing the 14-day talk. And the people all through Isogenics, this thing has gone viral. I really wouldn't be surprised if this ended up a tool because it's such an easy duplicatable conversation with anybody, whether it's a start member, a baby boomer, a man, a woman, somebody that needs to lose 100 pounds, or a pro athlete. That conversation is duplicatable all across the board. Okay, so that's our second back to basics tool, okay? How are we doing on time? Okay, we're good. Okay, the third, U plus 2, then plus 2. So when I talk about the 14-day talk, and by day 14, without even trying, people are going to start noticing something's going on with you. And if they're like excited about that, I'm like, and then guess what? When you share it with people you love, Isogenics gives you cash. Cash. Not free product, cash. And cash gets people's attention, let me tell you, right? That got my attention. I like the products, but I want cash. And most people do. And so if I can tell, usually I don't bust into U plus 2, then plus 2 right away because they're so overwhelmed with opening their president's pack and texting me. And I tell them by day 14, without even trying, when that happens, let's have a chat because I want cash in your pocket. How would that sound to you? Like, yeah. And if they're like wanting to know it right now, like Trisha did, she did. She's like, she literally, I will never forget it. She literally took the big president's pack, moved it aside, said, okay, I know that's going to work. Now tell me how to get it paid for because I don't have another refrigerator to sell. And so with her, we went through U plus 2, then plus 2. We had launch parties in her little, beautiful home. Small, but beautiful. It was amazing. And we got her products paid for, and she hasn't paid for one since. So when you get somebody like that who wants to know it right away, she's very rare. Most people are like, just give me my box and go away, right? But by day 14, when people are noticing something, that is when I say, remember that cash conversation I had with you? They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, let's talk about it. But if you don't know U plus 2, then plus 2, like the back of your hand, how are you ever going to be able to articulate it? You're not. It takes practice. You don't get on your bike for the very first time and knock it out of the park. You don't just like zoom through the neighborhood. You fall, you get your knees scraped. You might even crack your chin open or lose a tooth. U plus 2, then plus 2 can be messy in the beginning if you don't practice it. And you can sound salesy and you can sound all awkward like a robot and be weird. And I'm telling you, I can recite U plus 2, then plus 2, funny, serious, whatever. I could do it over the phone. I could do it in a napkin. I can do it on the back of my pickup truck. I can do it anywhere because I've practiced it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. Okay, we have all the resources to explain U plus 2, then plus 2. I also have a YouTube video on how I explain it. It's very similar. It's the same template. I do it a little bit different. I subtract numbers, but it's still all the same. But it's a very natural conversation. It's not weird. Don't be weird. The only way you're not going to be weird is if you practice it. So get with friends. Get with your teammates. I mean, I'm sure many of you have enrolled at least one person. Or you have a spouse or a best friend or a mom or a cat or a dog. I used to do U plus 2, then plus 2 to my cat when nobody showed up for my business meetings. So Gracie knew how to do U plus 2, then plus 2. But that's the third basic. How many of you guys are working on a daily basis with your teams with that? Or how many of you have practiced it? How many times? I watched Lynn Hagedorn do U plus 2, then plus 2 over 100 times in my first month. until I sounded like her. And ironically, you want to know what's funny about it? Because I've done a lot of training, people will go to an ICU and see Lynn Hagedorn do the compensation plan. And it's almost hilarious. People that haven't seen Lynn before, they're like, oh my gosh, Lynn sounds just like you. Like, oh my gosh, no. Where do you think I got it from? You know, but that's because I listened to her. And you need to listen to things over and over and over until you can recite it. I promise you, it'll make those conversations not weird. And people will feel that you know what you're talking about. And it'll seem like it's not awkward for them. Because if you're awkward, do you think they're ever going to do it? No way. No way. If you make it an easy conversation, the chances of them duplicating you are a lot higher, which is the key to launching your business into the next, you know, crazy train. I mean, just crazy. If you are duplicatable, which I am, I don't know everything, but I am so simple and duplicatable. That is how this has happened in 2.5 years. I promise you. It's not because I have the secret sauce or anything like that. I just practice a crap ton. A ton. Okay. Number 4. This one's big too. Connecting in social media. Huge. I mean, do you look people in the eye when you're at the grocery store? When you pump gas? When you're walking anywhere? On an airplane? I'm telling you, I used to not. I never used to. I never wanted to make eye contact with anybody. And something was missing in my life. A lot. The minute I put my head up and started seeing what was around me, and not just people, but nature and just all the beautiful things around me, my attitude got a lot better. And the right people started to come into my life because I was a better person. People make this weird, you know, the lifeblood of our soul is connecting. It really is. You know, if that's missing in your life, something is missing. I know my soul is not at ease when I am lacking that. And for people like me, I'm sure I'm not alone with this. My go-to when I'm not feeling on point is isolation. Anybody else agree with me? Yeah. And isolation is the thief of all joy, let me tell you, because you aren't connecting. You aren't connecting. You can hide behind a computer and Facebook all you want. But if you are not having that connection, that soul connection with people, I guarantee it's just a matter of time before the boat starts to sink. And so I have to be really mindful of that because that's my go-to. Honestly, that's my go-to when I'm not feeling good about myself, when I'm not taking care of myself, when I'm not taking the time to re-energize myself, when I'm not honoring the commitments to myself. And I have to get out and connect. Practice with kids. Kids are the easiest. And they may run from you, but they're so cute. People with dogs, I mean, anybody with a dog, if you talk about their dog and say how cute they are, I mean, that's easy. Go hiking. Look people in the eyes. You know, I used to hike up a mountain with my headphones on, my head down, not even look. And now it's like I look up and I'm smiling, and I've tripped a couple times because I'm looking up and smiling at people. So what? Who cares? They laugh at me. I made their day because they got a good laugh. Just whatever. You know, just make contact. You know how many people have not heard hi or how are you today? Especially this time of year, people are just so ugly sometimes. And it makes me sad. I was in the UPS store, you know, going to send something somewhere. And there was a huge long line, and this lady was going kind of slow. And this lady was like, you're next. I'm like, it's really going to be okay. It's really going to be okay. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm sure nobody else is. So we're okay. And all of a sudden, I set the tone. I set that expectation. We're not going there. We're not getting ugly. We're not getting nasty. I'm not letting that energy on my bus. So back your truck up, sister. And you're in charge of what kind of energy you allow you, but you got to set the tone and set the bar. You hearing me? Yeah? Okay. Social media. Okay. I've been helping a lot of my team with their social media. For those that scheduled one-on-one times with me, the first thing I did was dig into their tree and look at their Facebook account. And for a lot of them, the Facebook was the problem. The Facebook was the problem. And I've seen many of you on Facebook that are really good at social media. Take the time with your team and help them with a post. Ask the questions like why, you know, even people, I talked to, you know, some of the people on this call. You started this a year ago. Why did you start? Like, get back to your why. Stop trying to be, evasive on Facebook. And I mean, yes, creating curiosity is important, but people can see through BS. I'm telling you right now. I like to say social media, and Facebook especially, is like a reality show. People don't come to Facebook to buy anything. And as you know, there's many, many, many horrible reality shows. And then there's some really, really great, inspiring ones that change lives. Don't be the Jerry Springer of Facebook. Don't do it. Don't be the person blasting Isagenix all over. And I won't mention any other companies that are doing that kind of thing right now, but it's just so, ugh. Your job is to be an inspiring reality show, because Isagenix products work. They're amazing. And all it takes is somebody getting it in their mouth, and that'll do the work. But what is it about you that they're going to trust enough to talk to you about this journey? What is it about you? Because it's you they're buying. It's not Isagenix. And it gets really hard. When I first started Isagenix, my very first Facebook post was April 1st, 2013. I was 7 days into Isagenix. And my whole life I wore masks. And even on my Facebook, I wore masks for as long as Facebook had been around. I think it was like 4 or 5 years, 6 years at that point. And I made the decision that I was going all in with Isagenix, and I knew that meant being completely raw, real, vulnerable, open, honest, open door, no matter what. And that for me was terrifying. And I'm sure for many of you, it's terrifying. It is, because haters hate. Your family's watching. Your coworkers are watching. Oh my goodness, what are they going to say? I don't care. You can care deeply about people, but you don't have to care what any of them think. And I don't. And I promise you, the minute you start using your Facebook like an inspiring Oprah reality show rather than the Jerry Springer show, people will start to notice you, and they will start looking for your posts. Even if it has nothing to do with Isagenix, they're just intrigued by your positivity or how you handle life or how much fun you have or your sparkly eyes or your smile or your humor. But just be you. Do you have to post 5 times a day? Heck no. But be interesting enough where they go looking for you, and be interested enough in people that haven't been blessed with Isagenix yet to go dig into your network and find out about them. Stop wasting your time commenting and liking all your Isagenix friends' stuff. I love you, and I love that you comment on my stuff, but don't waste your time, especially if you have to fit this in the pockets of your life. Take that time you're spending commenting on me and Trisha and Lauren. Spend that time picking 5 people out of your Facebook friends that have yet to be blessed with this and comment on their stuff. I promise you a few things happen. They'll show up in your newsfeed a lot more, and they're going to start paying attention to you. And that's the key. And if you have a good reality show going on, that's when the magic happens. They're going to start to be curious about what the heck it is you're doing. Okay? Off the soapbox. But help your people with their social media. Don't rip them apart. I mean, I have people on this call that send me examples of what they're thinking about posting, and I will help them tweak it or shorten it or, switch it around a little bit where I know it's going to come out with a punch. If they're stuck too long in the yuck of before Isagenix and not enough in the glory part, we sometimes flip things around, and it does a lot more power than staying stuck in the emotional part of our story. Okay? But help your people work on that. And you have people in your organization, and I know both Lauren and Trisha are part of huge, beautiful, inspiring teams. There's always somebody to bounce ideas off of. And I know both those leaders are more than willing to help you with a good Facebook post. Okay? Okay, the last one, number 5, is teaching your people how to handle objections. Because this is something that rejection sucks. That's probably what most people are afraid of. Rejection does suck. And especially if your confidence isn't strong with your 30-second story or your 14-day talk or your U+2, them +2. If somebody says, it costs too much, it has too much sugar, all of a sudden we crawl into our little hole and want to die. But I love when I get objections. That just gives me more time to grow as a leader. And because I've practiced it enough, there is not one objection that I can't anticipate. There's not one objection that they can throw at me. Doesn't mean they're going to join Isogenics. Not necessarily, but that's okay. That's on them. It's not because I haven't done my job in educating them. Again, on YouTube, I have a really, really good objections video. It's awesome. It's really good. And I used a lot of it from a podcast I'd listened to. I think it was probably Lynn Hagedorn 2 years ago. And I just kind of worded it in my weird wording, and it worked. But you have to tell your people and practice objections. Like, have mock conversations like, you know, Trisha and Lauren. Okay, Lauren says, I don't want to do it. I like to eat food. And what do you say to that? Well, Trisha loves to eat food too. I understand. This is what I have found with Isogenics. You know, you teach people, but you have to let people practice this. It's much easier to practice people that have already drank the Isogenics Kool-Aid than it is out in the public, right? Would you agree? I mean, I had to make some mistakes out in public. So practice with each other and have your people practice with each other. If they're unwilling to practice with each other, do you think they're going to be in your top 2%? Probably not. Do you think those are the people you should be using your energy to grow with? Probably not, but so many of you are. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, so those were your 5 things. Okay, one last thing we're going to touch on. We're going to go back to the 85% of those people that join your team that will never, ever, ever, ever share Isogenics. And so many of us leaders, and I've talked to Trisha and Lauren about this in the past, that your health and wellness page is so hugely important. 85% of your business volume, of your cycles, come from those 85% that will only use the products. Now, don't you believe that that would be really important to focus on those 85%? Yes. That's why our health pages and our wellness pages are so hugely important, and that we as leaders are in there. Just because we're Isogenics millionaires and have lots of stars and circles in front of our names does not mean we forget about those 85% that keep the train going. This is so important. This is why my team is doing what it's doing. I'm not saying I'm great at you know, putting products in there. You know, I bring what I'm strong at, but the great news is they're duplicating me. And it's not just a Tracy show in there, but there's 23,000 people all contributing because I went first and because I've remained there. If you back out of it, you know what you're giving your people permission to do? Do the same thing. Again, they're going to do what you do, not what you say to do. So even though you're leaders and you want to talk about the money in the business because that's a lot more sexy than hearing somebody complain about not being able to poop, I get it. It's not very fun. Or somebody whining through their first cleanse day. I want you to know that staying in your health page keeps you really, really humble. And it lets you remember the hole that you crawled out of to get here. Never forget that. Never forget that. When I am plugged in, like on point in my health page, not only do I see my team thrive, but I thrive. Because the more humble you stay, the higher up you can go in this company, I promise you. The more people will look to you, no matter how many stars and circles are in your name, and they're going to respect you because you're in the trenches with them. You're not just walking on top of them to get to the top. And I guarantee you there's not a person in my team that feels like I walked on top of them to get all the way to the top. But I'm down there in the trenches, lifting them up and taking as many as possible with me. And that's because I'm present. Time spent. Quality time is my love language. If you haven't read that book, figure out what your love language is. Have your team take the test. That's probably going to be one of the next things in my next challenges is do the love language test. Mine is quality time. And so when I spend that quality time with my team, with the product users, the 85% that keep my business, the 85% that maxed out my business center, your 2%ers know what they're doing. Let them go. You're going to find your next 2%er in your health page because that is where I'm watching leadership grow when they have no idea they're a leader yet. That is where I can pick out who I'm going to pour the most love and belief in because I see the strengths of somebody that's loving on people selflessly. They're lifting other people up. They're not all about them. That is where you're going to find your 2%ers. not the ones that come knocking on your door saying, I'm going to be your next rock star. I guarantee you the ones that say that ain't. Unless they're me. Because I said it. But I actually talked and walked the same. So, you know, I want you to remember that, because I know that both of you, Lauren and Trisha, you grew your teams really quick in your first year. And both of you kind of hit a lull. And I'm not revealing any secrets that we haven't told, right? And I hit a lull at the 4-star point too. Because all of a sudden, my identity switch, I thought all of a sudden I had to be something different than I was, which is what grew my business, is by being present and active. And once I realized very quickly, I didn't stay stuck very long. I was like, no, back to basics. Loving on that 85%, loving on that 85%. And if you build it, they will come. Field of Dreams is one of my all-time favorite movies. And you know, he builds that beautiful baseball field in the corn. And the next thing you know, there's all these people playing ball. And I guarantee you, if you build a loving, safe community where you're present, they will come. And your 2% will show up there. Look for them there. If I could give you no other advice, look for them there. They're there. My best business builders were happy product users first. So 3 things I want to share with you. A lot of people ask me what I read. I've done many challenges with my team, and so a lot of people on this call already know what I'm going to show you. That's totally okay. It's amazing. And I did it for a business challenge, and then I carried it into the 85% of my team. And the 85% of my team, the happy product users, for our last challenge, one of the requirements was to read this book. And I'm sure most of them are like, really, Tracy? It's the holidays. You're going to have me read a book? And yeah, almost all of them read it in one day. It's that good. It's that good. It's like, this is it. The Energy Bus by John. If you haven't read it, read it. The only reason this isn't packed is because my son is actually reading this one now. That's how good it is. My son is reading it. So read that. He has another one. So read this one first. But after that one, my favorite book of his is called The Carpenter. And for you leaders, especially Lauren and you, Trisha, if you haven't read it, you need to go get it tomorrow. And I want you to read it. It'll really hit home for both of you because you're so special. You're so special. And it will flip a switch, I think, that maybe has been shut down for a little while. It did for me. And I'm only sharing that because it did for me. The Carpenter is an amazing book on getting back to your why we do this, and how we exude our why in the most loving of ways. It's a great book. And then another book by John Carpenter is called The No Complaining Rule. This one was excellent. I had our team do that one too. All 3 are John Gordon books. All 3 you can read in one day. All 3 are very inspiring, whether you're a healthy product user or a 2%er. So that is what I have for you. I hope that I didn't exceed our time. Sweet. I made it in under an hour. Is that good? Yeah? All right.
So good, girl. So good. I'm on Amazon, like literally typing in these books as listing them.
You want to hear
Does anybody have any in the last 6 minutes, like a question or comment besides that this is awesome? And I know that all of your brains are spinning because she keeps it raw and real, and you're so fired up because it is duplicatable and simple, but it does help you face you and hold all of ourselves to the person in the mirror. But if anybody has any comments or questions, we still have a few minutes.
Hey, Tracy.
Yeah.
It's Meg Sweeney. Hi. I'm on Lauren's team, and I use the Crystal Executive Map myself. Lauren taught me that. Thank you, girl. And I've been talking to some of my teammates about filling it out and filling it out 3 deep. And it's not getting done. And maybe they're just a part of the 2%. That's fine. But they're doing some of the other things. And I'm just wondering if you have some ideas or tips on how to tell them the importance of the map.
Well, the first thing I would say is if they're resisting that, they're afraid of something. They're probably afraid of failure. They're probably afraid that they've said they're going to do lots of things and haven't followed through, and so they don't want to add this to the list. And so when I get somebody like that, because I do have that too, you know, we try to get to the root of what they're really afraid of. And once we can kind of put that on the table and get over it, get over the stinking thinking and, not stay stuck in our yuck and just say, you know what, even if you don't hit it, it doesn't matter, but you have to know where you're aiming in order to hit the target. Just do it. Especially if they've told me why they want to do this. It's like saying, yeah, I want to build a house, but I don't want to lay the foundation first. We're just going to put up the walls and hope for the best. That doesn't work. This is our foundation. This is our foundation. And if they're unwilling to work on the foundation, one mean comment, one, rejection, and those walls cave in. You know what I'm saying? So I try to get to the root of what they're afraid of, and that takes time, and that takes caring about people. And sometimes that gets messy and uncomfortable. But I guarantee taking that time and investing in what they're really afraid of and helping them remember why they wanted to do this. Like if their why is so powerful, then why the heck is this thing so scary? I mean, really? Like for me, I never wanted to have to rely on child support again. So I was willing to put that thing there, and I didn't care how scary it was. And it was scary because what if I didn't hit it? But finding out why they're doing this and finding out what it is they're really afraid of and why they won't do it. And if they still are unwilling to even tap into that, they're not ready. They're going to need some more personal development. And then, you can still love them, but maybe move on to somebody else and stop trying to force something that they're not ready for yet.
Thank you.
Welcome.
There's if you go to iStrengthsBusiness.com, there's a great tool that I've been using. It's the belief questionnaire. And for a lot of people, this is just a good way of finding out where they're at exactly, because it asks you, what's your belief in the products, what's your belief in network marketing and isogenics and the compensation plan. And the key one, of course, is in self. And when you get that, I've been really surprised at some people's answers that maybe their belief in the product wasn't at a 10 yet, and I had to work with them on that. Or maybe their belief in network marketing was like at a 2, and we had to work on that. But, Tracy was just talking about that, and just meet people where they're at. Know exactly where they're lacking, and then you can fix the problem.
Yeah, because if we just start preaching like, hey, do your map to crystal executive, you know what? Most people aren't going to do it. But if you really tap into why and because I honestly, I didn't believe much in myself until I walked through the doors of that first event and sat next to Betsy. And I knew after that I was going to be bulletproof. I was going to be unstoppable. And I was going to knock this out of the freaking park. And so Betsy knew right away what my belief was all of a sudden. And it's your job as a 2%er, because you're all committing to be a 2%er, to take the time to pour love and belief into people until they can do it for themselves. And I'll promise you that goes a long way. Trisha was a beautiful example of that. She did believe in herself. She did. She was one of the few that did, even as broken as she felt in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And she just needed a little extra love and belief in this area about network marketing and that she could actually do this. It was just a beautiful, perfect storm. But because I invested the time in getting to know her and taking the time to know why, and sat with her in her family room and knew that she had a vision much bigger than the 4 walls she was looking at for not just her, but for Danny and the 3 boys, it was easier for me to really tap in when things got hard. And things have gotten hard over the last 2 years. They have. But because I took that time to know her, we can work through it and we can help get her over the hump when those things happen with love and grace. So, right?
That's right. Awesome, Tracy. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. At our meeting last night, we kind of talked about it, and I just want to close by, just saying, the reason why Tracy really was so powerful is because she did pour that belief into me and woke me up, like she just mentioned. I did believe in myself, but I didn't have the vehicle, and I definitely wasn't feeling good. But the key truly was going to an event, and she will always talk about events, and I know exactly why, because they are so powerful. Because that very first event at NYKO in Dallas, Texas, I was already in love with Isogenics. I was in love with the products, and I was in love with this woman who was just, pouring belief into me. But it was at NYKO in Dallas that I really woke up and really you just recognized that I was living in a box and that I could do so much more and that the sky was the limit. And it really was just, just listening to Lynn Hagedorn and Susan Sly and just amazing people. Tara Romano, Alexis Romano really hit me strong when she was speaking, and it was at the event. So just, get to an event, get your tickets, make sure your team is going, and they will show, they will wake up. They will wake up and recognize what you really have to offer them. So awesome, guys.
Hey, real quick. I know we're right at the hour. Tracy, thank you again so much. I'm taking notes on my little note thing on my phone, and keep getting interrupted by the text of Tracy's awesome. This is fabulous. This training's amazing. This is great. I love this. I'm almost stop texting me because it interrupts me typing my own notes. But I want you to know that. But I want to just you guys tell you 3 examples this in the last 72 hours of people looking for Isagenix. So this very first call when Cindy was talking about just connecting over the holidays, and Betsy really hit home on making meaningful relationships. And just like Tracy started this about not trying to figure out how to bring up Isagenix, but just listening, and just getting them to trust you. I will tell you, I am an active prospector. People that are around me, I am an active recruiter. With these 3 situations, I really wasn't, but it's just being open and seeing the opportunity and being really ready to serve. But last Thursday on my way to New Jersey, I called Lyft because I'd been in a car accident, didn't have my car, had to go to the airport. And I was in the back, and I was just kind of out of it. I didn't really want to be talking. And the girl was asking me questions. I literally thought she was prospecting me, but where was I going and what did I do for work and da-da-da-da. And then I was man, I got to just, do this. Long story short, the lady is trying to have supplemental income for her 3 kids. Her husband just got a job transfer. They're getting ready to move across the country. She needs money. I literally enrolled her in the car. From my house to the airport is 30 minutes. And I put in the order on my phone. It was the craziest thing. And she was basically coming to me, but it was being ready and just being able to have that 30-second story, get to her why, offer the solution. So I went to New Jersey to train a bunch of rising stars that are actually on this call right now. So I spent 3 days with them out there. We were out to dinner, and I said, do you guys normally prospect your wait staff? And they were no. And I was okay. So I wanted them to see how I would connect with a server. And then come to find out her story, she's lost 160 pounds. She's looking for a job in health and wellness, doesn't want to go to college, doesn't want to be serving anymore. And I'm looking at these girls, it almost is it was scripted. I could have planned that, and we didn't. That's how ready people are. And that's how amazing this is. And then coming home, I was sitting next to this elderly couple, super tired. I have a little bit of a concussion, did not really want to be talking to people. But I knew it's you sometimes only cross people's paths once. And so right before we landed, it was you guys from Denver? Are you from Jersey? Just enough of those questions that Kyle McCrash talks about in his Connecting. And this lady asked what I did, and I told her I was in the health and wellness industry. And she burst into tears. She's in her 70s, but she has a morbidly obese son, and they're praying for a solution and was wondering if we could get him something for Christmas. She had me crying. And these are people I really wasn't trying. And so I just want you to be really open to the situation and open. Like Tracy said, if you're looking up and your heart is open and you're smiling and you're that positive person, you'll never run out of people's lives to bless. You just have to be willing to make it more about them than you and see it. So look up, like she said, and open your heart, because there's people everywhere that are waiting for you, and the abundance comes. The abundance will absolutely come. So Tracy, you're amazing. I know this video, once we enter or close out our 5 weeks mentoring, I'm sure this one will have 25,000 views, because it's up there with your quality work. But we're grateful. We love you. And we'll see you guys next week with Janny. You guys have a great night. See you soon. And I'll upload this tonight.
Love you guys.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tracy, Tricia, Lauren.
Time.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.